Hong Kong tech stocks surge following President Xi's meeting with top entrepreneurs in China. Eurozone trade surplus dips in December as imports outpaced exports. And Grok-3 is shaking up the AI race, outperforming top rivals like ChatGPT and DeepSeek. Hello, I'm Taiba Aydin with the latest business and finance news here on TRT World. Tech stocks rallied in Hong Kong in a positive day for Asian markets following a meeting between President Xi Jinping and China's top business leaders. Fanned hopes that a years-long crackdown on the private sector is coming to an end. The Hang Seng Tech Index surged more than 3%, reversing course from Monday. The Hang Seng climbed as much as 2%, extending an impressive start to the year with the emergence of a new chatbot from Chinese startup DeepSeek, stoking optimism in the country's AI drive. The rare closed-door symposium between President Xi included Alibaba's Jack Ma and Tencent's Pony Ma, with Xi urging entrepreneurs to, quote, show their talents in a new era for the country's businesses. It comes amid looming US tariffs and rising tech rivalry with the world's largest economy. Meanwhile, the Australian dollar strengthened against the greenback and stocks lost ground after the Reserve Bank cut rates for the first time since 2020 to 4.1%. For more on this, we're joined by Tim Waterer in Sydney. He's Chief Market Analyst at KCM Trade. Now, Tim, this is a rare event for the Chinese president to meet with the private sector. Do investors believe Beijing's crackdown on the tech sector is finally over?
Nice to be with you again. Yeah, time will tell if the crackdown is fully over, but I guess we can say at the very least it's a warming of relations and a change of tact, I think, from Beijing. And recognition that the private sector does account for about 60% of China's GDP. So I think it's no coincidence that while the property sector is still waning in China, that the government's looking for other areas to sort of pick up the slack. And the tech sector has been on a good run this year. The Hang Seng Tech Index, as you say, that's up around 30%. So Alibaba, Tencent, they're having really good runs at the moment. I think the messages we've been hearing from this symposium today, well, I guess further investor confidence that things are starting to thaw out, and maybe we'll get an uptick in entrepreneurship from China moving forward. So, I think it's no surprise to see the tech sector doing well in response to the message we heard today.
And what could this so-called new era entail, particularly given the AI race between the US and China and looming tariffs on exports?
Yeah, so we'll have to see what if any regulatory changes happen. So, I mean, I think the end goal here is to sort of, just loosen up the regulatory restrictions to sort of free up some of that entrepreneurship that the President Xi Jinping talked about today. So, looser conditions to generate, or promote more growth in the tech sector. I think that's one goal. And I think it's also, fair to say that, as you say, the AI race hotting up. There is a competition for investment around the globe. So DeepSeek, their progress being made there. The news about sort of, Weijin this week and, using, DeepSeek on their chat systems. I think that's giving investors around the globe, I guess, a viable alternative to Silicon Valley in the form of, China's tech sector. So, yeah, I think, signs are looking good there at the moment. We'll have to see what happens in terms of who wins the race ultimately. But I think we'll just have to wait and see what regulatory changes are followed up from the positive messaging we heard today.
And moving on to where you are now, the Reserve Bank of Australia has cut rates for the first time since November 2020. How has the reaction been so far?
Yeah, a long time to see that first rate cut, as you say. A little bit bittersweet. So yes, we did get a 25 basis point rate cut, but the language from the RBA sort of didn't hint at any other forthcoming rate cuts in coming months. It's sort of, this decision today is a little bit tighter than a lot of the market expected, and I think that reined in some of the enthusiasm. So that's why we saw Australian stocks not doing so well today, despite the rate cut, and of course Aussie dollar a little bit muted in response as well. So RBA highlighting the tight unemployment rate at the moment, and I think that's what's keeping them in a hawkish frame of mind despite the rate cut today.
All right, Tim Water, Chief Market Analyst at KCM Trade, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
The Eurozone trade surplus narrowed slightly in December as the increase in imports exceeded growth in exports. In December, the Eurozone's export of goods totaled around $237 billion, an increase of 3.1% compared to nearly $230 billion in December 2023. Imports, on the other hand, saw a notable increase, reaching more than $220 billion in December, up 3.8% from around $213 billion the previous year. And as a result, the euro area had a trade surplus of $16.2 billion, down slightly from the $17.2 billion in December 2023. For the year, the trade surplus tripled to $185.3 billion. The trade deficit between the EU and China widened from $19 billion in December 2023 to $24 billion. Meanwhile, the EU's trade surplus with the United States increased from $10.5 billion in December 2023 to $16 billion in December 2024. This shift reflects why the Trump administration aimed at reducing the US trade deficit with the European Union. Ireland and Germany saw particularly strong trade relationships with the US last year. Ireland's trade surplus with the US reached a record $52 billion in 2024, while Germany's surplus reached a record of $72 billion. For more on this, we're joined by Francesco Rizzuto in Liverpool in the UK. He's a professor of European law at the University of East London. Now, the Eurozone's trade surplus more than tripled in 2024, despite that contraction we heard about in December. What's helped drive this growth?
What's helped drive this growth is the fact that if we think about America, they will continue to buy European cars. And frankly, I also think that the value of the euro, which has tipsy-turvied, has actually helped EU exports. So these are the explanations in many ways. Though, if we look at the two countries whose trade is surpluses, if you like, have increased most, Germany and Ireland, they might seem a little bit surprising, given in Ireland's case it's really the export of services rather than goods. In Germany, it's surprising given the fact that German industry and the car industry in particular has nosedived in the last 12 months.
And while we saw trade with the US and China rise, we saw intra-regional trade decline. Why is that?
Intra-regional trade, that's within the EU, really well, because frankly, the EU has not grown. If we think within the EU, it simply hasn't grown because, of course, as you know, growth rates have been bobbing along at the bottom, despite the attempts by the European Central Bank to gradually lower taxes. So really, it's explained by the fact that there is a general, and there has been a general over the last 12 to 15 months, a general downturn in economic activity and consumer habits, really, who have been rather keener to not spend lots of money on things.
And with the looming US tariffs, how is the European Union planning to counter Trump's tariffs?
Well, I think that's going to be very, very challenging. If tariffs are basically being used to bully European states, for example, Denmark over Greenland, or other states, well, the European Union has essentially what's called an anti-coercion instrument, which is a pretty serious bazooka that can be used in real time against American tariffs. Look, the Americans, well, and the Trump administration in particular, is really using tariffs to frighten Europe and the EU in particular into doing what? To stop trading with the United States? We either have free trade or we don't. They clearly don't like it. They want to use tariffs to basically build walls around the United States and to try and make sure that European companies that are producing in Europe, for example, relocate to the United States. So this is a pretty brutal way of trying to deal with the world, using tariffs for geopolitical ends. Now, the European Union will respond, though I fear, judging by what happened in Paris yesterday, that European unity on this, even the qualified majority that will be required to, if you like, put swinging tariffs on America, particularly where we made the connection between tariffs and the attempt to coerce European countries to do certain things. I don't even know whether the Europeans will be capable, even on trade, of behaving in a way that suggests that there is a degree of unity and cohesion there in the face of what is essentially American trade bullying tactics.
Right, Professor Francesco Rizzuto, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Good morning.
Now a quick look at some of the other top business stories from around the world. The world's largest mining company, BHP, has lowered its interim dividend to 50 cents per share, the smallest in 8 years, following weak demand from China. The company reported an 8% drop in revenue to $25.2 billion in the 6 months to December, driven by lower prices for commodities like iron ore and steel-making coal. BHP also warned that potential trade tensions could threaten global economic growth. Southwest Airlines is cutting 15% of its corporate workforce, or around 1,750 jobs, to save about $300 million by 2026. This will be the company's first major layoffs, with most cuts, including some senior leadership roles, expected to be completed by the end of the second quarter. The airline is currently under pressure to reduce costs. Mexico has warned Google it will take legal action if it renames the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America on its Maps application. The Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says Trump's order only applies to US waters, not Mexico's territory. The government has sent a formal letter rejecting the challenge and says it will sue if Google does not comply. Now, the AI industry is witnessing rapid advancements. Elon Musk's xAI has just released its Grok-3, which aims to deliver superior performance while addressing economic considerations. Following the announcement of the new chatbot, xAI's valuation surged to $50 billion, reflecting strong investor confidence in its AI innovations. It just goes to show the market's positive reception of Grok-3's capabilities and xAI's strategic direction. Grok-3 distinguishes itself with advanced reasoning abilities, outperforming rivals such as OpenAI's ChatGPT and DeepSeek's R1 in various areas. The introduction of Grok-3 signifies a shift towards more cost-effective AI development. By achieving high performance with reduced training expenses, xAI could help make AI more accessible across different sectors. Let's cross now to Pierluigi Paganini in Naples, Italy. He's a cybersecurity analyst and CEO at Cyborus. Now, Musk claims that Grok-3 is superior to its rivals. So how does it compare to the likes of ChatGPT and DeepSeek?
Musk says that Grok-3 will outperform every model currently released. He's citing every powerful reasoning capability demonstrated in internal tests. However, we must consider that the results that Musk is referring were obtained in internal tests, so we must wait for the final release before independent tests can evaluate the performance. Anyway, from my point of view, I believe that we will be surprised by the test. They made a lot of job in order to achieve great results. If we look at the previous versions, Grok 1 has a strong performance, on specific tasks. Let me say, for example, middle school math problems or Python coding, surpassing also other models like ChatGPT 3.5. Okay. Anyway, we must wait for the final release, because probably the new benchmark will tell us that Grok-3 is a very, very powerful AI chatbot.
And it looks like we're shifting towards more cost-effective developments there in the AI race. How does this impact the broader industry?
The cost effectiveness development of Grok-3 promises has the potential to reshape the AI landscape significantly. It can, by lowering the cost and increasing accessibility, anyway, it may stimulate the competition and also drive an innovation in the industry. We can reduce the resources to train these models, and we also reduce the time to perform such kind of activity. It could also alter job market dynamics within the industries. As businesses adapt their changes, the economic impact of Grok-3 could be profoundly influencing various sectors' reliance on AI technologies.
And how does it impact the competitive dynamics among AI developers?
Well, Grok-3 advancements are likely to have a profound impact on the competitive dynamics among AI developers by pushing performance boundaries, integrating real-time data capability. You have to consider also that Grok-3 is trained on real-time data, adopting also an open source approach. At least Musk claims that he will release as open source previous version of Grok models, and also emphasizing cost effectiveness. Grok-3 could redefine industry standards and expectations. I have no doubt about this. Musk is a visionary, is a communicator, so he can achieve this goal. As the AI landscape evolves in response to this innovation, it will be crucial for existing players in the market to adapt the innovation continuously. The risk is to be overshadowed by new players on the market.
Right, Pierluigi Paganini, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hundreds of professionals and managers attended the third Istanbul Human Resources Forum. This year's theme looked at talent-based development, and Emre Boz was at the event.
When we talk about human capital, we're looking at the obstacles in merging skills and knowledge of a population to its workforce. Here at the third Istanbul Human Resources Forum, Turkey is hoping to do just that, with the theme being talent-based development. Previous forums saw more than 4,500 professionals and managers from 36 countries come here to Istanbul, and everyone is looking at ways that they can better utilize, invest, and find talent and bring them into their own work environments. Turkey also has great potential in its own labor force. With a very young population, more than 15% of the population is between the ages of 15 and 24, meaning that they have great potential to grow in their own labor force. Already, they're the second largest labor force in Europe. And Turkey hopes that by investing in the youth and talent of today, that they can better secure and harness sustainable long-term economic growth into the future.
In 2018, the Turkish Republic established the Human Resources Office of the Turkish Presidency. This office focusing on the human issues, especially we are focusing on the young talents. And we are producing some specific and objective projects about talent management. And these projects covering all around the country and all the cities and the towns and even villages. We are accepting every people as a talent. If we are giving equal opportunity to all citizens of the country, we believe that these people, these young people will show their real talent. And this will motivate the economy also.
Turkish Airlines actually, for the most of the companies, human resources is actually one of the most strategic department in the company. So we are a airline company. Our main operation with the humans. We always say that the flights is same, the oil is same, the destination is same. But for Turkish Airlines, the difference is in our case is our human resources. We showed that during and after the pandemic, with our human resources, we made approx 30% growth after the pandemic. So the human resources in the Turkish Airlines is one of the most strategic departments.
There are different levels of approaching talent development, and for sure, the first place to look at is in educational level sector, and of course, the next is private industry. And inevitable and the must sector is the public sector, of course.
The ancient Ghanaian mining town of Obuasi produces hundreds of thousands of ounces of gold each year, yet it remains poverty-stricken, with its residents struggling to afford basic necessities. The arrival of a South African mining company was supposed to bring hope, but as Rolling Seeker MAM reports, residents say all it's delivered is misery.
Obuasi, a town in the Ashanti region of Ghana, has one of the largest underground gold mines in the world. This precious metal, along with cyanide, a rock used in construction, is mined in commercial quantities. Yet, poverty here is rife and widespread. And young people are risking it all to survive.
We have dug to about 250 meters underground and still digging. Yet we have not seen any mineral yet. We are still digging with the hope for a breakthrough. The struggle for survival is when they block all exit points.
While small-scale mining is legal in Ghana, permits are so elusive. Most people do it illegally.
We need to create job opportunities for them, and we need to train them. We need to create a situation where they can utilize their potential in them.
Anglo Gold Ashanti owns the Duaprem and Obuasi mines in southern Ghana, which produced more than 490,000 ounces of gold last year. People here say their mining activities above and below ground are having a devastating impact on their community.
The company killed my dad, who was an employee. He was working on one of the company's pipelines when chemicals gushed out straight into his eyes. He struggled and died. Till date, no compensation from the company to my family.
Residents also suspect that their land and water systems have been heavily polluted by the company's mining activities.
The water is full of chemicals. It's either milky or reddish. We have no options. We feel heavy pollution and disease in our land, water and air.
Anglo Gold Ashanti mine officials have declined to comment on these allegations and the recent miners' killings, since the matters are under investigation. For years, farming was also part of this community's livelihood. However, part of their land now belongs to the South African-owned mining company, Anglo Gold Ashanti, leading to more deadly confrontations between small-scale miners and the army guarding the mine.
Commercial gold mining has been ongoing in Obuasi for centuries, yet there's still very little to show for it. Development has been sluggish, and residents continue to face significant challenges.
Rolling Seeker MAM, TRT World, Obuasi, Ashanti region, Ghana.
The war in Sudan has caused the world's largest displacement crisis, with nearly 750,000 refugees having crossed over to neighbouring Chad. Grace Courier-Kanja has more from Adre.
There's a vibrant market in Adre town. Most of the traders are Chadians. Very few are part of the nearly 300,000 Sudanese refugees that have settled here. And despite the circumstances, they've found a way to make ends meet.
I work as a driver. I take goods from Adra to the Sudan border. Once it is safe, I may return to Sudan. Life was difficult there because of the violence and also people would steal our goods.
At the Chad-Sudan border, Abdul will hand over basic goods like soap and biscuits to another trader living in Sudan. But last year, the Adre crossing was closed for several months after the Sudanese government accused the paramilitary rapid support forces of using it to deliver weapons that have fueled nearly 2 years of war. Aid delivery and cross-border trade ground to a halt then, but now,
at this exact point is where the trade happens between the Sudanese living in Chad, the refugees in Chad, and the Sudanese who have opted to stay home in Darfur, especially because most of the Sudanese refugees here say it's too risky to go back home.
The Norwegian Refugee Council says 88% of the refugees are women and children.
We go to the market in Adakhan, Sudan, because it's very big and has everything we need. We just pray to God for our safety. If you're lucky, nothing will happen to you.
Yaya, a father of 3, came to Adre in November. Unable to find a job here, he ventured into the transportation business using his savings. He's just come back from a 3-month trip to Adekon in East Darfur. It's about 5 kilometers away from here, and it's the farthest most refugees here can go into their home country as fighting between the army and the RSF continues.
It's not easy to do this business, but I have to make a living. It's not safe to go to Adekon, but I don't have a choice. I have to go. I don't have another job here to feed my children. I carry passengers from Idri to Chad to Adekon.
He charges each passenger about $2 a trip, barely enough for him to survive, but also hard for the people here to afford. He says he'll spend a few days with his family here in Adre before returning to Sudan, hoping to come back alive. Grace Kuriakanja, TRT World, Adre, Eastern Chad.
Well, that's all your business news for now. Thanks for watching.